Another new episode of Max Talks Box Office here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg. Today I'm breaking down this past weekend's box office, which was July 3rd to the 5th, 2026. Looking at the overall numbers, both domestic and worldwide for the year 2026, and preview a big box office weekend that's coming up this weekend in theaters. I'm Max Dinnenberg. Welcome to Max Talks Movies. If you guys are new, subscribe, ring that bell. Do all those fun things before we get into today's video. I break down this box office every single week. Without further ado, as I always like to do, let's just get right into the box office numbers of this past weekend, guys, which it was July 4th weekend, July 3rd to the 5th, 2026. And starting at number one this past weekend is Minions and Monsters from Universal and Illumination, opening to $36.4 million. Now, again, this movie opened on July 1st on a Wednesday. So right now, the movie has made $61 million domestic, $159 worldwide. And as you can tell in the title of my video and the thumbnail I made for this video, this is the lowest opening weekend ever for a Despicable Me franchise film. Even with its domestic opening of $61 million, that still is not the biggest opening. It would be basically the second lowest opening of the franchise if the 61 million counted for the 3 days, which it does not. So for opening weekend's perspective, Minions and Monsters finishes in last place of 36 for the 3-day. Before that, Despicable Me 1, back in 2010, opened to $56 million. The last two movies of this franchise opened much bigger. Minions Rise of Gru, which of course is the last Minions movie, that movie came out in 2022. That film opened to 107 domestically for the 3-day. And Despicable Me 4, which came out in the summer of 2024, opened to $75 million. So these are drastic drops for the Minions/Despicable Me franchise, and this is probably going to stop a run of massive hits in this franchise. Despicable Me 3 back in 2017 and the first Minions film back in 2015 both made $1 billion. And then you had Minions Rise of Gru back in 2022 and of course Despicable Me 4 back in 2024. Each got to above $950 million but did not get to the $1 billion, but still over 950. So the last four entries in this franchise either almost got to $1 billion or actually got to $1 billion. So I think this film will be a disappointment to many looking at the overall box office. Now again, for an animated movie like this, the budget for this movie was only $85 million. So this is not a super exorbitant box office, budget for this film. So the movie needs to make $212 worldwide just to break even. The movie's already at $160. It will get past well beyond its break even point, but it's probably not going to get anywhere near the heights of the last four films in the franchise, which is funny because the last couple movies, especially Despicable Me 4 and the previous two Minions movies, were not the most received films, both critics and audience-wise. And it feels like universally, most people are enjoying themselves with Minions and Monsters. So it's funny that one of the most well-received movies of the franchise is going to be one of the lowest successful box office hits in the franchise. So I am fascinated what this, again, Illumination does moving forward. It is crazy now. We are 7 movies deep in this franchise. I'm sure Illumination is going to probably want to make another Despicable Me movie now first to get back on track before moving forward with a Minions 4. But I don't think this box office is going to force them to not make any more Minions films moving forward. So at number 2 this past weekend is another family movie that's still doing very well, and that is Toy Story 5 from Disney and Pixar in its third weekend. It made another $31 million. That's a 56% drop. Toy Story 5 is up to $366 domestic and $764 worldwide. It continues to be on track to join the $1 billion club. I think this is also a major reason why Minions and Monsters was not as big of a hit, is because it came out 2 weeks after Toy Story 5, and Toy Story 5 has truly become, again, a juggernaut. Toy Story 3 and 4 got to $1 billion. Toy Story 5 is already 3/4 of the way there to get to $1 billion in just 3 weekends. Families are becoming, rightfully so, very picky as it pertains to going out to the movies. Because of, if the family of 4 or 5, it's at least $100 to go to the theater. So in July, you have a family film like Minions. You also have a family film coming out this weekend, like Moana, and then you have Spider-Man Brand New Day at the end of the month, after just having Toy Story come out at the end of June. So I think that could have been a tough decision for many families if they went to see Toy Story 5 and maybe had to choose between going to see Minions again or going to see Moana this weekend. We shall see if that affects Moana or Minions moving forward, but Toy Story 5 has been a massive success for Disney and Pixar. It continues this recent success as well for sequels. After Inside Out 2 joined the $1 billion club 2 years ago, it looks like Toy Story 5 is going to do the same. At number 3 this past weekend, guys, is Young Washington. This is the new Angel Studios movie, opening to $20.8 million. It is not opened outside of the United States, so $20.8 for Young Washington. This is the biggest opening weekend ever for Angel Studios for a live action movie. I believe David, the animated film, from last year was their highest grossing film ever, but for a live action movie, Young Washington is the highest grossing movie for the studio. Of course, they released this on July 4th weekend on the 250th anniversary, of course, of America. And Angel Studios, while they do make a lot of content, they are very smart for every major, if it's a Christian holiday or just an American-esque holiday, they always have a movie ready to come out for that holiday. They always have like an Easter movie that hits theaters, a Christmas holiday movie, and now they have a July 4th movie. It is very smart, and if people want to be patriotic and celebrate America, they went to go see Young Washington in theaters. And $20 million is a big opening for this film. There also are accomplished actors in the ensemble when you're talking about Ben Kingsley and Andy Serkis, Kelsey Grammer in the cast. So this is not just about a bunch of unknowns, but people wanted to celebrate. It seemed like a very patriotic holiday, especially with the 250th anniversary of our country. People went to go see Young Washington. Truly amazing feat. We'll see if there's any sustainability to this or it was so front-loaded because people were celebrating the 4th of July. But on the other end of not doing so good, at number 4 is Supergirl from DC and Warner Brothers, dropping 74% in its second weekend, 9.6 for the weekend, 58 domestic, and has just crossed 100 million, 100.5 million worldwide. This is unapologetically a disaster for DC and Warner Brothers. Supergirl has a $175 million budget. And the movie hasn't even made its budget yet in theaters. This is entirely shocking. I think no one expected this movie to do like bonkers box office, but to be this much of a disaster, I think is really surprising. It feels like every day there's another news story on the tricky behind the scenes of making this movie. People across the board, everyone who's seen it in my life really does not like the movie. People just aren't enjoying the movie. And I think a lot of people out there who like the movie are being very lazy about it and saying, well, everyone who doesn't like it is sexist or misogynistic or whatever. They just were rooting for the movie to not succeed. I think a lot of people like me have fair complaints on why the movie does not work. And are there a lot of people out there who do clickbait stuff and hate the movie to hate the movie? Absolutely. But people just don't like the movie also, like myself. And wanted this movie to be good, didn't turn out to be that good. Clayface, again, not a huge risk later in the year. A lot of what James Gunn's future as the DC head is going to rely on Superman Man of Tomorrow coming out next year. If that movie disappoints, both from a critic, audience perspective, but also from a box office perspective, boy, DC could be headed in trouble, of course, once again. But this is a total disaster. It seemed like Craig Gillespie and James Gunn were not on the same page, and it feels like every day as more stories come out, it just does not look good from DC from behind the scenes. Rounding out the top 5 this past weekend is Disclosure Day from Universal in its 4th weekend, dropping 27%. Another $6 million for Disclosure Day. 105 domestic, 216 worldwide. This movie is hanging around the top 5 way more than I was expecting. Obsession and Backrooms are finally out of the top 5 here. So it took Backrooms 2 months. It took Obsession 2 full months to be outside the top 5. Truly amazing feat. Jackass really fell off in its second weekend, so it's not here also. But again, Disclosure Day, a month in, hanging around. I think that's a very good sign for this movie. Let's look at the domestic total so far this year. Here in the United States and Canada, Super Mario at number 1, Michael is at 2. Toy Story 5 is already at number 5. Domestically, it is going to pass Michael next weekend, and it's probably going to close in on Super Mario's 429 very soon. Hail Mary at 4, Obsession 5, Devil Wears Prada at 2 at 6, Backrooms at 7, Mando and Grogu at 8, Hoppers at number 9. Looking at the worldwide numbers so far this year, guys, that's when you combine the domestic and the world and the international box office. As of now, Super Mario Galaxy is the only billion-dollar movie of the year. Michael is 22 million away from that. But more importantly, Toy Story 5 is already at 764. It will probably be a billion-dollar movie and be the highest grossing film of the year thus far. Project Hail Mary at 4, Devil Wears Prada 2 at 5, Obsession is at 7. It is past $400 million now worldwide. Going to be one of the most profitable movies of all time. Hoppers at 8, Backrooms at 9, and Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu wraps up the top 10. So 2 big movies are hitting theaters this weekend. Of course, Disney's Moana is hitting theaters. This is the live-action remake of the film, the animated film that came out just 10 years ago. And just 2 years ago, there was a sequel to Moana 2 that came out. Now, again, the first Moana back in 2016 was not an unbelievable hit. It had made like $400 to $500 million. It became a massive hit on Disney Plus back in 2019. And then when Moana 2 came out a couple years ago, that got to $1 billion. So many people believe Moana has a ceiling of getting to $1 billion. We shall see. There have been no critic or reviews yet for the movie, so we'll see if people are liking it or not. But Moana hits theaters. And then Evil Dead Burn also hits theaters. The last Evil Dead film was a big hit a couple years ago in theaters. Evil Dead Rise back in 2023. We will see if Evil Dead Burn as well. Again, horror is a pretty hot genre. Can Evil Dead Burn be the perfect counter-programming to family movies like Toy Story, Supergirl, Minions, and Moana? Also hitting wide release this weekend is The Invite from A24. That's a new film directed by Olivia Wilde, starring Seth Rogen, Penelope Cruz, and Edward Norton. I have already seen the movie. I really like it. It's finally hitting wide release this weekend. So if it's playing near you, I definitely highly recommend checking out The Invite. Also in limited release, you have Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass. That's a new film starring Zoe Dutch, her 3rd movie in the last 3 weeks. That is also hitting theaters. Limited though this weekend. So what are you guys' thoughts on the box office? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to Max Talks Movies. Also, please subscribe to my Patreon because starting this week, I'm dropping my exclusive reviews that I'm not dropping here on YouTube. I'm dropping them exclusively on my Patreon channel. It is a great way to support me financially, so please do that down in the comments section. Tons of videos coming out this week. I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Thank you.